Peace, peace and greetings. I pray all is well with each and every one of you. Just wanted to touch base because every now and again I take the time just to go through different forms of social media, news, so on and so forth, just to see what's going on and get the people's ear so I can stay informed actually. So it will be diverse from what's considered conservative to what's considered liberal and moderate. And as we're coming up into this election, it's going to get more convoluted with just information coming at you. So definitely, I'm sure there are groups of people that are already locked in. They're going to vote for either Mr. Biden or they're voting for Mr. Trump. But then there's others who are still trying to figure it out on who they want to be with. So the purpose of this post is just to try to help clear some of this convoluted noise. Because I'm asked, well, Greg, it seems like you're just clear, like when you are breaking things down or when you're looking at different sides, you're able to stay focused on it. And I'm asked, how do I do that? What's my thought process? How do I come to be this way? I said, well, it's really, to me, it's simple, is you focus on truth and you align yourself with that. And then you look to see who's aligned with the truth, and then that will let you know which side to go with. And then here's what I mean by that. So when we look at a president of the United States, what role is a president supposed to play? In short, the president, yes, is executive, an executive in a sense of managing the country of the United States and being able to work with the other two branches of government, the judicial and the legislative, which has the two houses, Senate and the Congress. Because as how our country is set up, there's the checks and balances. And I do understand and in harmony with the fact that if you're with one party or the other, meaning Democrat or Republican, and there are those who are independent and represent other parties, but the dominant parties are the Democrat and Republican parties, that you want your party to benefit more. I understand that. Along with that, though, there's still the whole country, which all of us live in. So the reason I bring it up with some people, well, you can't have them both. One party has to be on top, the other one, no, that's just nonsense. And my simple analogy is, for example, I'm using this smartphone to make this video. This smartphone, like other devices in 2020, can do multiple things at the same time. It's nimble, it's multi-layered. So as I'm doing this video, I could have music playing in the background. I could stop it and do calculations and do multiple things at the same time. So we can, at the same time, represent your party and still do what's right for the whole of the country. So as you just heard me break down the three branches of government and what in functional definition, what the president's supposed to do, he's supposed to be a manager. He or she is supposed to be the manager of this country. So to further that straight line of what's truth, as we're looking and we're getting closer to these elections on the national, but also the state and local. And you've heard me speak on my last video, opportunity zones, in reference to using your voice to vote on these three levels, because it's important. Even if you don't think the federal one is worth your time, the state and local definitely is worth your time. And the federal actually is. But again, people argue that point. So to go forward in reference to what's the truth, what are the things that are needed in this country from fed to local? What are the candidates, Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden, and their team? What's the policies that they propose to do in reference to the economy, domestically, infrastructure, education, for example, and there's many other things, employment. What are their policies and strategies as it relates to foreign policy? Now, some people we don't really need to worry about foreign policy. It's America, and America's the best, and to hell with which is ridiculous, which shows that we're uneducated as a country. And to substantiate that, what I've done in my workshops, I've incorporated a statistic and informed analysis so that we can discuss this when I'm doing the workshops with the participants. I asked them, what ranking do they think America is worldwide as it relates to education? And as of 2018, according to the World Top 20 organization, we ranked 26. So, many people were shocked, like 26? Yes, 26, which means we're not that educated and we're not this number one thing that we run around. Unless you're talking about we can kick everyone's behind, blow them off the face of the planet, and that makes us number one. But then I liken that to a bully, just because a bully can beat up everyone doesn't make them the best person in the cipher. That just means they can beat everyone up. And it definitely doesn't make them intelligent. What makes someone number one, or in this case, a country number one, is the education of its citizens. Now, we have the aptitude and we have the resources, is a better word, to be in the higher levels of ranking, but that's not where our resources are. So I bring that back to our candidates. What plans do they have for education? Now, in our country, we are one of the, and I'm not even going to go to, because that'll just digress us. So we need what plans, as we go into economics of this country, what policies, plans, proposals do they have for education, for the economics, foreign policy? And again, I did say I'm circling back to foreign policy because there's some that really don't think we need to be concerned with the foreign policy, to hell with everyone overseas. But I give them the simple analogies of atoms. All organic and inorganic matter is made up of atoms. What makes something seem invisible is the rate of velocity in which that atom is vibrating to make it appear that you're looking through it, versus what appears to be solid is the lower rate of speed of vibration, which means simply that all things are connected. So to say we don't need to be connected to what's overseas is ridiculous, because you already are connected. In the physical sense, you're already connected. And then if you go into the science of what makes up atoms, there are more things and vibration and energies that are connected. So that's a misnomer. And that, again, bodes back to being 26 in the world as of 2018. And the last thing I looked at, the first quarter of 2019, we may have moved up maybe a couple of slots, but we're not even close to being number one. Now, so we have those things that I just laid out. How prepared are we if, God forbid, there's another, beyond COVID-19, there's another infectious disease that comes out? What are the preparations? Who can handle it better? We already see what's going on now. So for Mr. Trump, there's been a track record of 3 years. So the things that I'm stating, what kind of economic plan domestically has been implemented? Can we name 3 to 5 things? If we can, we need to put them down. What are 3 to 5 things that he and his team and administration did not do well? And we can name more. Mr. Biden, same thing. What 3 to 5 things has he done and gotten accomplished in his years in Senate, as well as being vice president, being part of the team with Mr. Obama? What 3 to 5 things that he didn't do, that he failed in? Once we get those things, put them down, look at them, and make an objective decision. What we tend to do is convolute the likings. So you can like me. Remember how I said the phone, and multiple things can be true at the same time. A person can like Mr. Trump, but that doesn't mean that he's the best to be the president of this country. And the similar can be said for Mr. Biden. But you have to be able to objectively lay these things down and more, but I'm just making it simple to make the decision. Also, what we add to is which person, administration, can work with others. So if our country, what makes it unique is the three the three branches, and they are checks and balances. So you must work with others because one branch should not be have overall power than the others. That's part of the equation. Which two has the ability and the temperament to do it? Not only here, but also with our counterparts, our president's counterparts across the world, the prime ministers and other presidents. We need to work with. It's called coalitions, being able to form coalitions. So to remove ourselves from that, again, remember the atoms, is really ridiculous. Now, going back to this country, just to bring it home and circle it, we have social unrest. And that's not a creation by Mr. Trump, but he inherited from previous presidents going all the way back. We've always had a racism problem, but now it seemingly has boiled over, and now we have the Black Lives Matter, and then to counter that, you have people saying Blue Lives Matter, and then you counter that, and you have so on and so forth. So who is best to lead the healing, the coming together to bring forth what's best for the country, not just for individual groups? So yes, we do need police because there are individuals out here who, regardless to whom or what, are going to be criminals. So yes, no one is saying, and if someone says, well, the Democrats are saying that's a lie, no one is saying get rid of the police. That's ridiculous. But in the same vein, we can't have what we're having. That's like me saying, well, let me back up. So we'll say, as I've heard, because I have family members who police, I have friends that are police, love them. One will police, being a police person is the hardest, is a very difficult job. Yes, it is. Because you can lose your life in a split second. Bad decision. Yes. And because it's that difficult, then it should be that difficult to become a police officer, which means there should be some sort of training and screening to weed out those who have a temperament that they will go against or come down upon those who don't look like them. That would make sense, right? We can mentally ascend to that. But yet, in our present climate, it has seemed to have grown to say, well, we'll speak about that was a bad killing, but no, we don't really want to have reform because, you don't understand. I understand that as a black man, when I go outside every day, that there's a possibility that I can be harmed or killed by one individual who's a police officer. Now, I'm nimble enough mentally to understand that's not a indictment of all police, because I said I have family members who I love who are police officers. But it's still a realization that we need to weed out those who, under the cloak and the cover of wearing the badge, can manifest their bigoted ideologies. Makes sense. So we need someone to be able to understand that we need to support the police, but yet also along with supporting those people, meaning African Americans and Latinos, Americans in this country, to make sure they're good too. Remember, multiple things can be true at the same time. And we need to have someone as this manager of this country to be able to articulate that and manifest that. Meaning that if you are already in the police officer, as an example, and you are manifesting these things, and it's proven and it's proved that you actually did perform this, and it wasn't a followed by procedure, and you actually went out of pocket and you did your own thing, you will be prosecuted to the highest extent of the law, just like a criminal who commits a crime. They're prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. Because you don't legislate behavior, you educate. So you educate by manifesting what is just. So that's just an example of how we education reform, education reform, police reform, other reforms. So we need to have these things laid out, and then it will help to have these things laid out, and then from there make an informed decision on which party or which candidate, be it the president, the incumbents, or Mr. Biden and Miss Harris. So as this noise is coming, as it's already ramping up, stay safe. We generally do know what is right. If you're saying mask up, mask up. Because again, in the conversation, some may think it's a conspiracy, some think it's man-made in terms of COVID-19. What we do know is people are dying. What we do know, people are catching it. If you don't know how it's caught, then wouldn't it make sense to err on the side of caution and continue to wash your hands frequently, distancing, mask up, unless you do know. And if you do know, you can make a lot of money by letting everyone else know how this thing is still running rampant. I won't say block out the noise, because that then attaches yourself to the noise. Stay focused on what is true, and then make your decisions based upon that as it relates to the political process. Because be it if you participate or not, you are participating. And when I say participate, meaning casting votes. Because be it you can go to the polls and cast your vote, you can mail in your vote, or you sit home and don't vote, which is actually a vote. Peace and greetings. One love. Hotep. Wakanda forever.